Hi everybody, welcome today to #Grad Talks by AIT, Academy of Information Technology. I would love to learn where you were tuning in from. Feel free in our chat to pop in Melbourne or Sydney so we can see where you're actually looking to study. That would be great. So to start with, I'd like to welcome you all, whether you're from Melbourne, Sydney or the regional areas. My name is actually Donna and I'll be hosting the Grad Talks today. To start with, AIT acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to the elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. We are thrilled to be a part of your journey in taking your first step towards carving out an exciting and rewarding career doing what you love, whether that may be in film, animation, 3D design, games, or mobile app development. To start with, I'd like to introduce you to our amazing Student Enrolment Advisor team who will be guiding you throughout the virtual event today and also tomorrow. So I would love to invite on screen for a wave, Anthony, Charlotte, Henry, and Thais.
Hey.
Whilst we would love to have met you face-to-face, on campus, COVID had other plans for us, unfortunately, but we have a very exciting day planned regardless. Awesome, so let's take a look at our schedule. So after our after my little welcome today, we will be inviting shortly our academic director to have a bit of a chat and look into AIT further. From 12:15 to 1 p.m, we will be having our 2D animation session. You will notice that in between, we will have some short breaks just so you can go and have something to eat and use the bathroom. And we will be playing some student work, which is pretty cool. At 1:15 to 2, we will be going into our 3D modelling session, and 2:15 till 3 will be our film and video session, and we will wrap up at 3 today. So just to touch on our special graduates that we have on today. So we will be featuring William Partridge in our 2D animation session, who is actually a 2D animator at Cheeky Little Media. We also have Victor in the middle there, who is a senior 3D artist at Graphic. And we also have Paige for our film session as well. Cool. So let's get started with learning to study 2D animation at AIT. So basically to start with, I would love to invite my team that will be joining me today for the presentation. So first of all, I would like to invite Ant on screen just to go through some housekeeping.
Hello, how you going everybody? So while we talk about 2D animation, I'll be on the chat. So if you have any questions for us or for any of our grads, you can just chuck it on the chat. There's a little panel at the top there that says everyone, or it says just hosts and panelists. Chances are a lot of you have the same question. So just click it to everyone so we can all see the question you have and our answer as well. If you have the old Zoom, you can change it to all panelists and attendees as well. So I'll just say hello here. So just feel free to chuck it throughout. No worries.
Awesome, thank you. I would also like to invite Thais on screen, who is our International Enrolment Advisor.
Hey, hello everyone.
And also, last but not least, William Partridge, who we will be speaking to very shortly, who is one of our AIT graduates.
Hi.
Hey, William. Good to see you again.
Same here.
Awesome. So let's get started. So let's take a look at some of just our success stories of our 2D animation graduates. So we've obviously met William already today, who we'll be speaking to shortly, who actually graduated in 2019 and now works as a junior animator at Cheeky Little Media. We also to put a spotlight on two other graduates we have. So Joel Surdich is actually working as a technical animator for Flying Buck Productions, who graduated in 2018. And we also have featured here Chelsea Thompson, who is now a technical animator, who graduated the same year as Joel, who now also works for Flying Buck Productions. And we have some really amazing work featured there by all three graduates. So job outcomes. So if I study this course, what am I going to become? So you could become a character designer, character animator, technical animator, or even a concept artist. What's really amazing about our course is that we actually teach for job placement, which is something that Alex has touched on previously. And there is a huge 77% employment rate. And as you can see, like just some of the companies that we've mentioned previously, like Flying Buck Productions, Capel Pictures, Method Studios, Cheeky Little Media, Coke and Bear, these are just some of the companies that our grads move on to work for. What we're really proud of is we are the most focused 2D animation course in Melbourne, in New South Wales and Victoria in the higher education bachelor. So if 2D is your jam and that's your passion and you really want to zone in and focus on purely 2D, we are definitely the right place for you. So our 2D animation course. So just to sort of touch on what we offer in regards to 2D animation. So we do offer the Diploma of Interactive Media and the Bachelor of Interactive Media. Now, with the Diploma of Interactive Media, the first year you're actually going to touch on the 2D, the 3D, the game design and film. With the Bachelor, that first year of the Bachelor you will complete the Diploma of Interactive Media in your first year. So it's really great in the sense that you can get a taste of the topics that you need and also infuse a couple of topics together. Really flexible with intakes. We offer February, May and September every single year. And as you have heard, we have a campus in Sydney and in Melbourne. We have featured pricing below for both domestic and international students. And something that's really awesome to help students is we do offer for Australian citizens fee help. So what you're going to learn, so to create, produce and direct compelling animated stories based on your own imagination, what it takes to achieve a standard to get hired in the animation industry, to appreciate the beauty and embrace the unlimited application of animation. So here we have a little bit of a breakdown of our course and the subjects that you will cover throughout the course. We will touch on the Forge at the very bottom there a little bit later in the slides, but what I really sort of wanted to point out on this slide is you'll notice that there's actually 4 elective choices. Now, Alex did mention about one of the elective options being an optional internship, which you can do in your final year of study. What's great is, say if you're a 2D animator, you might feel that you want a little bit of film in there or a little bit of 3D in there, or you might just want to purely focus on 2D. So you've got a bit of flexibility in regards to your 4 electives there as to what you choose to do with them and really diversify your skill set. So to start with, animation, stop motion. So this will actually result in beautiful creations that might even get shown on a cinema screen. So it's an introduction to animating using traditional methods, whether it's moving pictures and objects. It's very hands-on. Technology includes anything from paper, clay, cardboard, pencils, and cameras. The 2D animation subject. So in this subject, you're actually going to create a character to use in film at a pre-production level. So it's an introduction to traditional animation and animation pre-production, and you will get the opportunity to use software like Toon Boom, Harmony and Adobe Animate. You'll get a feel of the workflow and principles, and you'll create the base materials for your film. Advanced 2D animation. So from pre-production to production of an animated short, this is where you're going to animate, polish, and edit to produce your major showreel piece. So you'll be actually once again going into Toon Boom, Harmony, Adobe Animate, CC, Photoshop, After Effects and Premiere. Animate, polish and edit for your own movie and create a showreel piece for animation festivals. Animation production. So learn how to animate in a team with very specifically strict roles. Create a film with a larger scope of teammates, take on a single specialised role, learn how to collaborate and communicate, and really create a showreel piece that you can use for, once again, animation festivals again. The Forge. So this is something that you work right through, right until your third year. This is your big project that you're building up towards before you graduate. It's really an amazing opportunity to network and put your foot in the door, build your LinkedIn and swap business cards. So basically what's going to happen, it's a rigorous and professional briefing and a presentation process where you will actually present this project to an industry panel for their feedback. You'll create an online presence and campaign towards your project whilst you're collaborating with other students. So our students win awards. So our students are consistently ranked as finalists in awards festivals across Australia and around the world in recognition of the quality, creativity, and technical excellence of their work. We proudly recognise and celebrate their outstanding achievements. The following highlights just represent just a small portion of the growing list of accolades our students have received in their recognition of work. Now, I won't be playing this one today, but I will have it actually drop the YouTube link to our YouTube channel of HackChat, who was actually created by a graduate we mentioned earlier, Joel Surdich. This was actually a finalist in the Animation Effects Award in 2019, and it actually won the jury's prize at the Rising Star Film Festival in 2018, so it's definitely worth checking out. What we are really excited about is AIT has really strong ties to Walt Disney Animation Studios in Los Angeles. Award-winning character designer Jose Zalea is one of the creative masterminds behind The Simpsons, Futurama, Lilo and Stitch, and even Lion King. He has actually conducted personalised feedback sessions with some of our 2D animation students in the past, and he's also been a really regular mentor in our virtual classroom. Going back from the Forge, so as we mentioned, you will get to present your project to industry panelists. Now, this is just a highlight of some of our panelists that will be on the Forge table on the day, so in the past. So Sandra Walters from Cacao Pictures, Isla Curtis from Cheeky Little Media, and even Simon Ashton from Animal Logic, just to name a few. Students often get offered job interviews, internships, or even paid employment on the spot. This course, you will become a really great all-rounder for the industry. So scholarships. So we do offer scholarships for both international and domestic. I will touch on the Initiate scholarship. Unfortunately, the Initiate has closed for February, but we do offer every intake. So I definitely encourage everybody to apply for May and September whilst it's open. The Initiate scholarship is for new undergraduate students, so commencing in the AIT Bachelor within the current year. The scholarship is, the Initiate scholarship, basically what happens is you'll be awarded a discount tuition fee if you win the prize of basically 50% off the first term and 50% off the last term. So as we mentioned, February, May and September, so we understand that things can be quite uncertain with COVID at the moment, so you do have a lot of flexibility in regards to when you choose to study, which is really great. How do I enrol? So basically what I would recommend, go through our application form on our webpage, and that's where we can collect a lot of details in regards to, you know, like if you're an Australian citizen, if you're a domestic student, what you're looking to study and that kind of thing. There will be a process where we will need to collect some documents after your enrolment form comes through, which our enrolment team can guide you through. Generally, these documents would be anything from like a passport or driver's license, birth certificate, your highest level of education, and to be certified, And generally what I would say, to certify a justice of the peace or a pharmacy can do that for you. The very final stage of finalising their enrolment would be the fee help for Australian citizens, or we also can offer a payment plan if you wish to elect to go with that option. Apply now. So ait.edu.au/apply now. That's for domestic students. And for international, we have the email there. So international@ait.edu.au. Awesome. So just to touch on today, you've obviously met Anthony. So Anthony is based at our Sydney campus. I actually am based Melbourne campus, and Thais looks after our international. Awesome. So now I would love to invite William on screen.
Hello.
Hey, William. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us again
My
today.
pleasure.
Great to see you again.
Yes, it is. Oh,
So I
it's
would-
nice to see you as well. Sorry.
Thank you. That's so good. I would love to ask you some questions just to sort of get to know you a little bit further. So to start with, I'd love to know who you are. Why did you study at AIT? When did you graduate? Which you've already sort of answered, but you can sort of add on to that. And what are you up to now?
So I graduated AIT in 2019, as already stated. And I went to the Sydney campus. The reason why I went to AIT was that when I was looking for universities and all that, my main focus was to have a very interpersonal relationship with my with my lectures and all that, and then also being very be very what's the word, work-based situations rather than like all written work. So that's why I chose AIT, because it provided all that stuff. And what I'm doing now is I'm currently animating for a Netflix show, which I can't talk too much about because of NDAs and all that. But so that's looking like it's gonna go up till February, which is nice. So
That's
what
so
I'm doing right now.
exciting. Wow, what an achievement. Awesome. Can I ask, William, like, how do you feel AIT prepared you for your role as a specialist 2D animator?
Well, before going to AIT, my high school didn't really have any animation programs at all. I mean, we had Photoshop and like Flash, and this was before CC, so it was like CS6, so it was really not. It was a lot different back then. So when I went to AIT, I had zero animation skills apart from maybe a flip book or two, and so being able to learn the programs such as Toon Boom and all that, as well as understand like the skills I need to be in the animation industry, basically helped me dramatically during all the dramatically to get into the industry, as well as the internship, which basically got me actually connections and basically got me connections into Cheeky Media, which got me the job I've got now, which is nice.
Yeah, that's amazing. Can I ask, like, during your degree, can you talk about, I guess, the value of project-based work and what it looked like?
Well, the thing is that with animation, it's very little writing at all. Like, apart from maybe an email to a day I write, everything else is just drawing and very physical base. And so learning that from day one through university is extremely important. So that's why it's so good. And the fact that because it's a small campus and it's tight community, you're able to basically get to know one another and basically able to improve your skills by learning off others and all that. So that's why it's so good to have a very like work-based study and all that.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And refining the skill, I guess, too.
Oh yes, of course, definitely refining your skill.
Yeah. Cool. So looking back on your study, what do you think is the most important, I guess, and valuable thing when you're looking for a place to study?
Well, you have to find a place right for you. That's very important. Though again, going back to work-based study and all that, or like stuff project-based study, it's very good to do that as a 2D animator, because you're getting in the nitty-gritty and stuff, learning the basics and then honing those skills to push them even further. So that's why you have to find a university, especially with AIT, that does these type of things, because you don't want to be walking into the industry saying, oh, I've done so many essays but very little actual animation based work.
Yeah, I see.
Because you always need like your profile, your portfolio and all that, with all your work and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Which you get through AIT as well, like for all the project stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And you get to keep the rights to it too, which is awesome.
Yes. Yeah,
exactly.
really
Where
helpful.
a lot of places don't. So yeah, no, it's very valuable. Cool. So as you can see, we've got some of your like previous work on screen.
Oh yes, Jellystone.
Maybe, I know you can't tell us about what's up and coming, but can you maybe talk to us a little bit about what you have completed in the past at Cheeky Little Media?
Yeah, sure. So in 2018, when I did my internship, I worked on a ABC show called Spongo Fuzz and Jalapeno, which I basically mainly worked on background characters and all that, and just did very minor things. And then after graduating, I got a job working on Jellystone, which you can see up screen now, and that was, if you couldn't tell, just all Hanna-Barbera cartoons, which was really, really fun because I grew up with those kind of characters. And so basically, a lot of the work that Cheeky Little Media does is 2D animation, client-based work, as well as they also produce their own 3D work, such as Kangaroo Beach and a couple other shows which are coming out, which I know about but I can't talk about.
Yeah, seems to be the way.
Oh, it's so painful.
Yeah, of course. No, that's awesome. So I would love to invite Ant on screen if Ant is there. I don't know how chatty everybody is today. How are they going?
Yeah, good. It actually has been pretty chatty, to be honest, which is good. I might as well start with the first one that I'm looking at. Oh, I can hear myself twice. Is that weird? Can anyone else hear me twice?
No, I think yeah.
Okay, it must just be my computer. Like I say something and I can hear it coming through the computer.
Yeah.
I'll start with the first question that I'm looking at from Sasha. So it's more like putting through an application question, whether she needed a portfolio and a resume. The answer to that is probably just your portfolio. You don't really need your resume. Your resume is more if you haven't done sort of like creative work. So just like 5 or 6 artwork examples, and then that's pretty much all you need. There was a question from Susan. You might be able to help with this, William. Do you recommend a particular laptop, like either a Mac or a PC, or like what's better for using stuff to study at home as well?
Yeah, well, when going through university, I used a 2011 like basically potato PC, so it wasn't really very good, but it got as long as it gets you through the base works, that's really what you're looking for. When it comes to like PC and Mac, it's all about preferences and all that. I mainly go for PC just because everything else is very my life has been PC based, but it's all about preferences and all that. When it comes to actually hardware, I mean, if you're going to university and all that, just do a little bit of research, see what the recommended requirements are for maybe Adobe, which is a big one, and Toon Boom, and try and get a PC or laptop that has that type of specs to it. Don't go overboard with it, because going overboard is just basically you're basically spending money that you really don't technically need to spend right now. That can come later on if you go into industry as a freelancer, for example, where you're working from home all day and you need those really powerful stuff. But if you don't know what you want to do after university, if you want to go freelancing or not freelancing, then just buy the minimum requirements. That's all you really need.
Awesome. There was another question for you, William, from Wafa, who was wondering what sort of like rewards you've experienced in your work. So like, I guess he means to like personal rewards, or if there's been any sort of recognition for the work you've done.
Well,
sort of prizes or anything?
for my like personal work, such as some of the stuff I did at AIT, well, I was granted a Best Director at the Dot Motion Awards, which was a outstanding surprise to me. But and then for my Forge work, which I did with a group, we got a couple of nominations for a couple of festivals. Outside that, I mean, apart from like saying how good the work is and all that, I mean, it's really not much like reward. Like you're not getting like prized like $1,000 or something like that for like doing a great job, because that's just not how life works, unfortunately. No, but that's basically what I've experienced, at least.
Awesome. So there was a question before around software and what sort of resources that you have access to. I can answer that as well, but I'm wondering from you, William, did you feel like you had everything you needed in terms of being able to animate the way you wanted? So in terms of software, Wacom tablets, the green room, sound equipment, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, it was really good. Like, I mean, when doing animation, voices are very like recording voices are a very big thing. So having that like green room, which also includes a recording place, that is like amazing, because you take away all the like static background, which is so good. But when it comes to actually software based stuff, it's like Toon Boom like comes with different like different thing, like 3 different versions of them, like professional being like the best, and like essential being the bare minimum. And but at least what you really need is in essentials, because named essentials. So the fact that I was able to work with essentials, learn the basics and all that, and then even with Forge, being able to push it essentials even further, not knowing that I could do that actually, which was fun. Like you have everything that you need. You don't need to worry about upgrading or downgrading or anything like that. The good thing about AIT is that you have everything you need. And there are, and you can also like borrow. I think, I don't know how it works anymore. It was a long time ago. Even though it was like a couple of years. You can rent out Wacom tablets if you need to be or whatnot, which was really good for some of my co-students and all that, who were saving up for a Wacom tablet but couldn't actually afford one at the current time.
Can I ask, William, when did you purchase your first Wacom? Was it whilst you were studying?
No, I purchased mine. It was a Bamboo, so it was really old. That was in, I think, year 10. So that was 2013, I think I got mine. 14 or 13, right about there. So, but then I upgraded since going to AIT. And all that.
Cool.
There's a question that I get asked heaps, and it's actually a really nice opportunity to ask you, because you've actually studied it. We always get asked what the assessments are like, whether there are exams, whether you need textbooks, stuff like that. Do you remember, can you explain in a way like what the assessments are like from start to finish?
Well, there are 2 types. There's the written assessments and then the physical ones. The written ones are very minimum. I think I did maybe 4 out of the 3 years I was at AIT. I think actually might be lower than 4, but again, it's a very small number compared to other universities, from what I've heard of. The rest are all physical based stuff. Those are, you're looking at definitely a lot more, at least 2 or 3 per subject. But they range from just making something small to a whole animation. But by the time you're making a whole animation, you're pretty much spaced out and only working on that subject, or maybe 1 or 2 other subjects. So you're very much not panicking too much over getting overworked and all that, which is good. So basically the amount of work, of course, with the university increases and all that throughout the years. But by that point, especially with me and my friends at AIT and all that, we were, by the time we were at the end, we were very used to that and knew what we had to do. So the amount of work increased, but our skills also increased. So it was basically the same amount of work from year one. It felt like the same amount of work, but it was, again,
But it's getting more advanced though.
Yeah, more advanced, but we were getting more advanced.
Yeah. There was a question that came through during Donna's prezo as well that I can touch on, give you a bit of a break, William. There's more questions for you as well, but another one of the diploma versus the bachelor. So we do work a little bit differently to your traditional uni, where the first year, so the first 8 subjects is just your diploma equivalent. So you can enroll into the bachelor if circumstances change or whatever, or the dream job pops up or whatever, you can stop there with the diploma if you finish the first 8 subjects and just graduate there. Or you can enroll into the diploma, finish the first 8 subjects, graduate, have that certificate, and then continue on to year 2 and 3. So you got a fair bit of flexibility in terms of what qualification you want. Just because you apply for the bachelor doesn't mean necessarily locked into doing a bachelor and walking away with nothing if circumstances change halfway through or whatever. So I hope that kind of clears some stuff up. There was a question before as well, and I'm curious, William, because we did get asked this as well a fair bit, the difference between 3D and 2D and like what your options are and whether you can sort of go down both roads. Like I can answer that in a way where after the first year, when you get through that diploma, you sort of decide on whether you want to specialize in 2D animation or 3D or film or games design. But you do have electives. Did you do any 3D stuff, William, or did you keep it? Like, what were your electives looking like?
I did one 3D elective, and I found that it's like just wasn't my cup of tea. To be like, I can do 3D, which is fine, but I'd rather do 2D. So that was basically how I looked at it. But when actually choosing whether you had whether you do 3D or 2D, it's basically up to preferences at the end of the day. You're after the first semester or term and all that, you kind of just everyone just kind of like, if I remember properly, like just kind of knew what they wanted to do. Like my friends who did 3D, just like, yeah, no, it's just 2D is just not my cup of tea. I don't want to draw 1,000 frames. And then basically everyone 2D is like, yeah, I just want to keep drawing like 1,000 frames.
I guess the good thing is you got a bit of option to do both though. Like even though you're sort of stuck in a way of specializing in one or the other, you can always make your electives like the latter, you know what I mean? So at least you can dip into both.
It was very freeing and all that. I mean, I had one friend at AIT who did like basically half and half at the end of the day. They did half 3D, half 2D, and now they just flip back and forth between them constantly while working.
Yeah. There was a question from Lauren on the sound aspect of animation. So, because you've got your Pigs of Climate Change video that's obviously got a fair bit of sound production, but do you mind talking a bit more on the sound aspects, like whether you're doing background music, whether you made that, the voiceover stuff, was that all you as well?
So my 2 major animations, which was Normal Adventures of Fluke, was the one I did in advanced animations. That was majority of me and my one of my high school friends who just recorded a couple of lines. When it came to the actual music and all that, I kind of just like pick something that kind of worked to an extent. It was very much just a learning curve. When it came to Pigs of Climate Change, that was after my internship because I was able to use a lot of stuff from the internship to Pigs of Climate Change. So I kind of knew about like what the audio standards were. And so when it came to like recording, we went into like studio inside AIT, recorded all the lines, re-recorded them a bunch of times to get them to work, got other people like friends and family in to do lines. We wanted to keep it all in house just to save budget a bit more, so we can focus on other things. And then when it came to the music, I was lucky in the sense that both my parents are music teachers, and my dad composes a lot of music, so he composed the music for it. So amazing. We finished our animation like by like 95%, and we gave it to my dad, and he's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll just put everything to the beat." So a lot of it where like one of the characters walking, which I love, it's like kind of it's like in 4/4. So if you know anything about music, it's basically every beat is kind of when the character's walking, and then the moment something goes awkward, it mixes over to 4/6, which is very awkward when it comes to music structure and all that. So it's all about what you know and who you know.
Yeah, if you don't have that luxury, do you have access to like sound bites or stock?
Yeah. There's a couple of websites which we were thinking of using, in which you can hire people to do voices for you, and they're not that expensive. They're like probably maybe looking at $50 max if you're looking for that mid range. And then when it comes to audio, you just Google copyright free music, in which that's what I did for a lot of Abnormal of Luke, just copyright free music, and that's how I just worked it.
There was a question about organizing files, which at first when I first read that I was like, what do you mean? But I think I understand. So I'd imagine when you're animating, you've got layers and layers and layers of like onion skins or whatever. Does that get pretty heavy in terms of saving on your computer, or do you have to save each individual layer and stuff, or is that sort of where Toon Boom comes in and makes it easy? Or like, how do you kind of track all the progression or save all the steps that you do when you're making like a full like production?
So when it comes actually to Toon Boom's good, in which you don't have to save every layer. You just click save and it just saves the whole project, which is good. And you can have 1 to 1,000 layers. And when it comes to project size, it all depends. The stuff I'm doing now, I'm looking at like 2, maybe 3 gigs per file, but those have a lot of assets in them. So, but when it comes to stuff I did at university, I think maximum was per scene. I'm talking about scene right now. The whole thing, the whole like raw files was about 20 gigabytes worth of footage when it comes to raw, but per scene, you're looking at maybe a couple of megabytes on average. So, but like a good tip, and this is why it got so big, and this is a good still tip. When you're doing any major changes, so if you're going back and have to redo a couple of things, save a new version of that file, so that if let's say you need to change the walk of a character and you've messed up that walk or something like that, you don't have to redo that. You just go back to an older version and just restart it, which would save a lot more time than fixing everything else up.
Yeah. Because the last thing you want to do is save over your work and have to redo it. I did that when I was doing my degree, and it's actually the worst feeling ever.
I learned that very quickly. I was like, yeah, that's a bad idea.
That was a really interesting question, actually, in terms of the difference between multimedia and animation. Do you use that term multimedia when you're like during your work, or is that more like a blanket term? Does that word come up? So
multimedia is just sorry, go on.
Oh yeah. So I understand. The way I understand the term multimedia is like the wider aspect of like design, basically. So it's like graphic design, 3D design, like kind of everything. Is that how you understand it as well?
From what my understanding is, yes, it's basically just the very broad term of anything you do on a computer is multimedia, from 2D animation to sound to even game design. It's just all on the multimedia. Though a lot of people do use it as just the base term, such as like, oh, you work in multimedia. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, because it's like the degree you do with us, it's called a Bachelor of Interactive Media, which is basically the same thing. And then like you choose which one you want to specialize in. It's like saying there's football, but then there's like rugby union, rugby league, and it kind of goes into a particular avenue. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, so I hope that answers that question. You can keep shooting them through. We've still got a fair bit of time still, so we're chilling. But I had a question for you, William, that I was curious in. Based on, and it's a good segue from that multimedia thing too, because in the first year, you're not just doing animation straight away. You're doing like creative drawing, digital images, digital storyboarding. If you just decided one day that you wanted to sort of park the idea of animation, could you go down like a graphic design road or any sort of artistry road? Do you think you'd have the skills to sort of convert or like go to a different sort of area of work that's still in like design?
That's what I'm currently doing now. I've applied for a job to do a storyboard, which is kind of like animation, but a lot more technical based when it comes to filmography and all that. And so it's pretty easy when it comes to actually graphical design, stuff like that. I think I could like just drop everything, maybe take a month or two just to relearn, or not even relearn, just like basically just catch myself up on the and remember the programs at least, and then jump into the actual industry myself. It's not hard to do. I've met a couple of people who've done that. I even met one guy who worked as a plumber for like 20, 30 years and now is doing 2D animation. I'm like, okay, that's weird, but no, but it's not hard to move over to a different industry if you want to park something or just get bored at maybe 2D or even design or anything like that and move to another one. I've met many people who've moved to 2D and 3D, or vice versa.
Because once you have those sort of foundational skills, you can apply it to like a couple of different things anyway. So
yes, definitely.
Yeah. Just a question from Sasha. I can answer this one. It's about the portfolio. So you can basically submit your portfolio however you want. Like you can send through an email with like 5 screenshots to me. You can text me 5 or 6 photos of it and I can upload it. In terms of formatting and stuff, it's really up to you, like whatever's easy in terms of like sending it through. So you can be directly email, you can save it as a PDF and put it in your application, or worry about it after. I've had a lot of students just text me 5 or 6 artwork examples and I've sent it through that way. So whatever's easy for you.
Sorry, can I jump in? I just noticed Susan's question.
Yeah.
So she lives in Ballarat. So just to touch on that, the Melbourne campus is actually based directly across from Southern Cross Station. So if you live in Ballarat, you have the access to the V line, and I believe it's about an hour from Ballarat roughly. So that's like a real key point for a lot of our students that live regional, because the thing is, especially with the way the learning is at the moment in regards to COVID, we're offering a blended model. So, you know, you've got a lot of options in regards to how you choose to study, whether it's completely online, whether it's a blended model of face-to-face and online, or completely on campus, obviously in regards to government regulations. So you will have that flexibility in regards to living regional in Victoria, and I think Ant might be able to chime in on Sydney a little bit better too with trains.
Yeah. So because we've got, you know, I sat next to, you know, Julia, my colleague, who lived in the Central Coast, which is like an hour and a half up north, and you know, still came to campus sort of every couple of days a week or whatever. But if you wake up that morning and you're like, oh, you know what, I really can't get down there or whatever, you can just attend that class online as well. Like you do sort of have the option. Every class is recorded too, similar to what this is happening. So you can, even if you attend class on campus or online, whatever, you can go back and watch the recording as well. So that's access to something that I wish I had when I was doing my degree, because I would write down profusely through a whole lecture or whatever, even though we don't do lectures here, but I would write everything down because I know that's going to be the only time I'm going to be able to hear it. So at least you've got it live streamed where you'll be able to go back and revisit stuff as well. And then save it in your files and stuff. So you've got that sort of, that bit of information forever, you know? So it's pretty handy. It's pretty handy having that option of online and on campus as well.
That's right. And I guess the other thing to sort of touch on as well is we do, so depending on what study load you decide on as a Australian citizen, you've got flexibility. So whether you study part-time, whether you do the accelerated bachelor in, rather than doing a bachelor in 3 years, bring it down to 2, or if you go with the standard full-time study, most students, they'll start with 3 by 3 subjects their first trimester, and generally one lecture will go for 3 hours. So really you're looking at 3 by 3 hour lectures a week if you do the full-time study.
Yeah. Awesome. How are we going for time there, Donna? Keep going.
We've got a little bit of a buffer, so if there's any more questions that anybody has, go for it.
Okay, yeah, some colleges say semester, some say trimester. So basically what that means is sem means 2, tri means 3. So semester is your sort of traditional university style where semester 1 starts in March and then semester 2 starts in August, and then that's it, the 2 intakes per year. When you have a trimester, you have 3. So our first intake is February, then May, then September. So the traditional sort of way to do it with us is to do 3 subjects in Feb, 3 in May, and 2 in September. But there is options to do, like 4 in February, 4 in May, have September off or whatever. I think it is a little bit different with international students just because of visas and stuff. But if you're a domestic student, you can kind of construct that in a couple of different ways. Like you can slow it down, speed it up. Because you might see we use the term accelerated sometimes. What that means is doing 4 in Feb, 4 in May, 4 in September, which means that would be done in 2 years. But you can slow it down though. If you go 3 in Feb, 1 in May, 1 in September, then obviously it's going to be less than 2 years, you know what I mean? So, well, a lot more than 2 years. So it kind of depends on how many subjects you're getting knocked off every year, really, over the 3 intakes. So, sorry, I got a frog in my throat. There's a question from Andy. So he's got little experience in drawing, animation, filming, and video, but he's sort of, doesn't really have like the confidence in terms of, or not really too sure on where to begin or if it's the right course. I'm curious, William, how much sort of drawing or creative skills did you have before you started, and were you kind of similar to Andy where you weren't sure?
Well, personally, I kind of knew that I wanted to do animation like for a very long time before going into AIT. Though a couple of my other friends from a couple of other friends at AIT basically kind of decided at the last minute because they did a little bit of drawing and all that. So it's all about like thinking. It's all personal preference and all that. I mean, if it's something that you're passionate about, then I mean it's basically a no-brainer. But if you're really unsure about it, then think about maybe like what's something like if you enjoy drawing, if you do enjoy doing that, then that is a career that's easy that it can easily go into. It's so, and I mean it's like it's hard to say because it is very much personal based stuff. I have friends from high school who still don't know what they're doing, and it's been years since I've left high school. But if you enjoy doing one aspect of it, whether that's video games, animation, 2D, 3D, programming, anything, if you enjoy doing it, then just do it. I mean, it's not a job if you enjoy it.
That's right. And I think the other thing to note on that, Andy, you don't need to enroll straight away into the bachelor. If you are a little bit sort of camping and you don't really know which direction you want to go, the diploma is going to give you that taste in all 4 topics anyway. So a lot of students, they come in and they don't really know what their specialty is yet. So that first year will really sort of give you the stepping stone to be able to go, okay, maybe there's one that I'm leaning more towards. Once you complete that subject, you'll be able to taste it all.
But just to add to that too, it's not like the first year in itself is like a complete waste of time or anything. You can still go off and do some pretty cool design and sort of, concept artistry based work after the first year as well. And go, you can finish there, see how you go, and you can always come back and continue on as well. So you've got a fair bit of option. Like, I guess that's a good thing about us is like when you do a degree at a more sort of traditional place, if you get to however long through, but don't finish the first 3 years, you kind of have to withdraw with nothing really. But it's not the same with us. You can still graduate with some sort of qualification. So at least you've got that little buffer or that little sort of backup plan as well. There was a question for you, William, I think from Wafa. He was wondering more what handling assets is like, especially in a professional setting.
Well, assets can go from, it all depends on what someone classifies as assets. I classify assets as basically anything and everything that isn't that isn't animation to an extent. So if a character is moving, before the character starts moving, it's classified as an asset. But once the character starts moving, it's now an animated character. So, and when I say assets, it can go from something a character is holding to the background to even the character, because like there's rigged animation, which is basically instead of drawing every frame, you have one picture of the character and then you move the arm and the character kind of moves, and then you kind of manipulate the character to move in a certain way depending on what the style of the show is. So, and those rigs can, I mean, far out, like how, like some of those rigs can be up to a couple of thousand of layers. So when it comes to actually managing stuff, it's pretty easy. I mean, it's very daunting. I'm not going to lie, it's very daunting to begin with. But once you get into it and learn things such as the node view, which is I'm not going to get into, but it's a thing that by the end of teaching AIT, you should know the basics of, or at least know what node view is at least. Basically, once you figure out how node view work, it's pretty easy. So again, it sounds daunting and it looks daunting, but in reality, it's pretty easy. So that's what asset management is. But again, it's when actually looking in the industry, there are like certain jobs that like or departments where people just work on assets or compile assets into one scene file, in which, and then they give them over to the animator. So you don't really have to worry about that much when actually working in the industry if you're just an animator.
Yeah, okay. I guess there's the other sort of way you can look at what the definition of assets is as well. Where like, are you under kind of, you're going to be quite confidential in terms of what you're working on and not sort of make the mistake of accidentally talking about like something that you sort of halfway through. Do they talk to you about that much?
Yes. So in Spongo, because I was an intern, I could talk about anything as long as I didn't show anything. But in Jellystone, I was given like a contract in which was like 20 pages of things I'm allowed to say, things I weren't allowed to say, and anything that anytime I wanted to talk about anything, I had to get special permission with Warner Brothers, which is a daunting task because they're in America, we're in Australia, and it's just like, hey, Warner Brothers, can I talk about this? And then 3 days later, no. So, but with the current thing, but my policy is usually if I'm working on a project now, I don't want to talk about too much unless I say something. If I, but I kind of know, you kind of know what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say.
Yeah.
That's basically just how it works. It all depends on project base. I know they've worked on anything Disney. Shut your mouth. You can't even tell your parents.
Sounds like
it's very strict there.
That was just to kind of to continue on with Andy's question. He came back and sort of said he's just a bit scared of wasting sort of the time and effort and the money as well, and something that's not right for him. Did you kind of share the same trepidation before you started?
A little bit. I mean, you look at the dollar signs and you're like, oh, that's a lot of money. But if you're an Australian citizen and all that, you have like the health fee, the HEX fee. I don't know how it works in Melbourne, if it works differently, but in Sydney at least, you had like the HEX debt, and which basically once you get to a certain threshold, it gets taken off your wages, and really, and now I don't even have to worry about it. I mean, I know it's there. I know it's slowly going down, but I really don't worry about it because I know that this also goes into a thing that my dad said. There's two types of debt: bad debt and good debt. Buying a Ferrari is a bad debt because the moment you walk out with the car, it devalues itself. But education is a good debt because you walk out with more than what you entered with.
That's exactly what my dad told me.
Wise words.
Exactly.
We've got a couple of minutes left. Is there any sort of last minute question?
I think good.
Yeah, that's pretty much everything. I mean, we've still got another 2 sessions after, so you can still chuck through a question whenever. We'll have similar sort of discussions with grads throughout the day as well with 3D and film. So it's not like it's if you don't chuck it in now, you're not going to be able to ask at all. But you can always text us as well. So I'll send through our sort of personal details as well, or our work details. So you can always touch base with us directly too. Yeah, I'll chuck this in.
Sure, I recognise quite a few names there.
You can always just send us a text as well here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us, William.
Anytime, my
Always
pleasure.
amazing to chat with you, learn about what you're up to and your story, and you've achieved so much. We're very proud of all your work. So
Oh, thank you.
brilliant.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely brilliant. Good luck with the Netflix series.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be out soon.
Yeah.
I can finally talk about it.
Yeah, be good next time.
I think I probably by accident tell someone and then be scared of getting in trouble.
Oh,
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
so many times, like, oh, hey, I worked on this shot, and I mentioned a character name. I'm like, oh no, I mentioned something I shouldn't be mentioning.
The excitement takes over.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anthony, as well for joining.
No worries.
Our next session to begin will actually be following on from 2D. It will be 3D.